Mr. President, my name is Ben Bruce, representing by Senator Tazi. This is a very, very important motion, probably one of the most important motions ever read on the floor of the Senate. It is important because we're at a position where the hunted are now killing the hunters, and the hungry are now killing the well-fed, and the poor are now killing the rich. And this is what we've been talking about for a long time. We're a nation of 200 million, maybe. I don't think Nigerians even know the true population of Nigeria. We're not paying attention to the most important part of Nigeria. And let me explain. For our people to be unemployed, to be employed, the economy has to grow at 15% for about 30 years to employ every Nigerian living today. Our reaction to employ them in government is counterproductive. It does two things. One, it increases the budget, which means there's less money for social intervention. Successive governments in Nigeria have run away from the fundamental issues affecting Nigeria. One, what are population control policies? Does anybody care how many children we have? Does anybody care how many children we ought to have? How many children make up an economy that is truly functional? Nobody cares. So we all talk about the issue, but we avoid what is truly important: population control policies.
And I heard Senator Ben Bruce, say the same thing that Bill Gates has been saying, that the world population is growing, is too much. And then Ben Bruce began to say, that Africa's population is growing too much, and we must slow it down. I was actually upset by that statement. Number one, you're not God. Who are you to challenge God? If God gives life and gives people ability to procreate, who are you to say that people shouldn't give birth? And then he began to suggest that we do something like what China did, the one-child policy.
Yeah, I
think that's crazy. And the policy, that shows you the mentality of politicians. Instead of finding creative ways to turn that population into benefit, you're thinking of ways to curb it. You can't do that. Population is a blessing. Population, it is a blessing. Because population growth leads to economic growth. Population growth gives any economy purchasing power. Okay? The more people you have, the more people you have to patronize businesses. But the problem is that the populations are growing, but you're not giving them income.
So you say the government are overwhelmed by the population. They have no idea what to do with
it.
They
just don't know what to do with it. Population is a blessing anywhere in the world. Imagine China. China has 1.3, 1.4 billion people. If China decides today we won't export anymore, let's serve our local population, China will still be one of the richest countries in the world because they have people, to buy those products that are being produced. And they are creating jobs for those people. By building so many industries they've built, they provided jobs for their people. And so these people have purchasing power. And so if they begin to patronize Chinese businesses, they still can be one of the biggest economies in the world. And so if you have population, it's a blessing. All you simply need to do is scale industries, massive industrialization. You don't need to do it with your own money. It's not rocket science. I repeat, provide 24-hour power, provide sustainable security. Companies from around the world are dying to come to Nigeria. I lived overseas. I worked with companies. One sent me back to Nigeria in 2014. That was how I came back here. Okay? Companies are dying to come to countries like Nigeria. But the question is, am I going to be safe when I get there? When I get there, am I going to have 24-hour power to be able to sustain it? Real companies work 24 hours. They run shifts. Some people work the morning shift, some other people the afternoon shift, and some other people the night shift. Because for them, not working at night is a waste of time. So they're asking that question, will I have 24-hour power to be able to work at will when I want? So population is not a problem. Now, it's just that our people are not creative enough to turn that into benefit.
Talking about population, Nigeria has two problems which I'd like you to look at. Number one, it is not even certain how many we are.
Exactly.
These are just speculations. And so we're probably more than the 200 million.
Exactly, that we are quoting.
Then secondly, the economic development is not pacing up to meet this growing population.
Exactly.
We simply know we're growing, but
yes,
the rate
is not matching up.
It's not matching up.
Yes.
This looks like a time bomb if nothing happens to it.
Yes, it's going to cause a lot of problems for us. It's going to lead to crime growth. It's already leading to crime growth. It's leading to a lot of anger and agitation. Okay, it's also leading to anarchy. Because a hungry man is an angry man, right? And the more hungry people you have, that's recipe for big trouble. Okay, so it is a problem. We need to manage that and manage it quickly. And like I said, the solution to that, like Uche, the expression you made is beautiful. That the growth and the economic development are actually not matching up. Okay, but it's quite simple to solve that. Like I said, I've already alluded to how you can solve that. Is by creating industries. Again, there are certain sectors that are dormant, and there are certain practices that shouldn't be going on. For example, the Nigerian government, as a matter of fact, this government is encouraging export, but they're encouraging a farm to the seaport activity. Okay, now that is to say,
which is exactly what they do with the oil.
Yes, that is, and it is wrong. It is wrong because what you do when you take produce from the farm and take them straight to the seaport to export it to the white man, what you're doing is that you're eliminating the middle sector, because you have three sectors of agriculture. One is production. It could be livestock, it could be production of food and stuff. Then the middle ground is processing, and the third part is the business part of agriculture, marketing and distribution and all of that. Now, but what we're doing is that we're cutting off the middle ground, which is actually what provides employment. Right? So we take from the farm and we go straight to the seaport. And that's what the NEPC, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, is promoting through the federal government. Right? That policy is absolutely wrong. So one of the things we must do to create jobs is that, one, invite companies to come set up. Governments in every state must find creative ways to lure, companies that are manufacturing or processing companies to come and set up in their states. Also, you also have to invest in processing industries that may not necessarily have their own brands, but process for Nigerians who have developed their own products and their brands. And what you do for them, they can outsource their production to you. Because for me, I'm a product developer, right? And there are a number of products that I've developed that I know are best sellers, can sell anywhere in the world, but I can't scale them because I don't have the money to set up the factory. I don't even want to set up the factories because it costs a lot of money to set up the factory. Outsourcing is a great way, to make profit and own brands without owning a factory. But then who do you outsource to? There are not companies in the Southeast that we can outsource to. So imagine every state in the Southeast sets up processing industries that individual product developers can outsource their production to. You see,
I'm curious to find out why that second part, the processing part, is on the mind and underemphasized.
Lack of know-how.
You had made mention of China and the fact that they operate one-child policy. That was a program that was invented and implemented by the Chinese government sometime around 1980. And in 2015, 2016, they made some adjustments to allow for 2 kids.
Okay.
Right. So recently, I think early this month, they now made it 3. Right. So since there seems to be a controversy around the population control, and since you admitted that the government are a little bit overwhelmed with what to do with the population, do you think the birth control policy is something that might work at this point in time?
It's absolutely wrong to talk about that for Nigeria. That's why I was going to answer to Chigozie, who said he didn't agree with me. He doesn't have to agree. But the point is, we haven't done all that we need to do. And we're talking about population control. Things are not that bad. Like Odukwe said, excellently, articulated. If we do all that we're supposed to do, Nigeria is not overwhelmed by population. 200 million, 250 million is not bad for Nigeria, given our land mass and the resources we have. So we haven't done all we have to do. We haven't created jobs. We haven't, we've not opened up the different, mineral resources for exploration. We're not making all the income that we can make, and we're talking about population control. It's a lazy man's, policy, for Nigeria. That would be a lazy man's policy. So anybody that doesn't agree, it's their prerogative to not agree. But I am saying that trying to control population in Nigeria is wrong at this point. We are not overwhelmed.